What's up, loved ones? So, I guess I'm just gonna roll into some conversation and start talking about rich broke people. You know, throughout my life, I've always been somewhat of a observer. Always intrigued and really curious about social interaction, psychology, the mind. It wasn't until later in my life, now at this point, where I went on this path to get deeply entrenched in soul growth. I would say most of my life, I was an observer of the things I can only see with my eyes. Like most of us are. I basically, observed externally people, behaviors, and observe lifestyles of people and observe images of people like many of us do. And a lot of these external images would dictate a lot of my thinking on reality and what reality is and what people in this world who tend to get the most out of this world, usually put in all this external activity. We listen to videos that tell us that hustle, work hard, grind, exhaust yourself. But it's one major key thing that a lot of the content and things that, through my years of development that I was not really met with. And that was basically the inner work. I didn't hear much conversation, things of that nature coming from, the books I read and, content and things I used to watch. Because, on some level, I've always been a person who wanted to grow into some level of greatness, or whatever my conception of that was. And over time, my conception of that actually developed into something that was more unique to my own truth, and outside of, a public perception of what that is. But overall, like, the inner game is something that was I was deceived by. It wasn't something that I was fed or I came across. And truly, it's really been one of the most powerful and key factors in me really catapulting into like the individual that I've wanted to be. Or the individual that, who knows, God, the source, a higher power, the Almighty, my higher self, wants me to be. Rich broke people. So rich broke people are the people that we observe and they look like they have everything together, and they're they living their best lives. And somehow, some way, years later, you hear about them. I mean, you see this with some celebrities. You hear about them and they end up drug overdosing or trying to commit suicide or something horrific in their life, and you were like, or they go through a bad relationship and they end up going crazy on the internet or something, and you're just like, wow, what's wrong with this person? They got everything. They literally have everything. They got a Lambo, they got a big house, they can travel, they can go anywhere. They got millions of dollars they can spend. What's wrong with them to where they're so unhappy? And the thing is, you hear a lot of people in public eye, I say celebrities because these are usually wealthy people that we can see, that we are the closest to, right? And you say, I don't understand. Where is this unhappiness coming from with these folks? Just imagine dedicating your whole life to becoming wealthy and you make it there. And it's not what you assumed it to be. You hear stars say this, what they say, I was so much happier in my old life. Or you hear them say things of the nature of money's not everything. And you be like, how can you say that? How can you say that money's everything? And if you're a person that's coming from scarcity or have a scarcity mindset, that's definitely not something you can identify with when you even hear like some of your favorite stars say that. But what they're talking about is they've exhausted their experience in learning all the skills to make money. They've exhausted their experience on focusing on money. So their only real skill set is making money. The only real skill set is their vocation in which they make money. But they lack mentally. They lack emotionally. They lack spiritually. In all these other areas, they may be bankrupt. So now that they're arrived and they have all this money and they reached what they thought was the destination, they still are met with the same levels of inner battles and things that the common man or woman is met with in their daily life internally. But the thing is, they haven't put much focus into those areas, and they realize something that no one told them on the journey to acquire millions or acquire the conception of success that's been fed to us. No one told them about the inner journey. And now they realize that there's more work to do. As much as they're exhausted and becoming rich, they're still very poor. And this is a very hurtful reality to be facing, especially being that it takes so much more effort and action for a person that's lacking internally to make it to where they have external wealth. They've sacrificed all themselves. And to realize there's more work to do is a very disheartening barrier to run into. And you hear it from your stars how money's not everything and they're sitting in a mansion. I once dated this girl, and she was a beautiful girl, and she had like nice cars and all of this. And at the time, I was just like some dude finding his way. You know what I mean? And but this woman, she seen something in me, seen something even beyond that I could see in me. And she would take me out. She would take me out on like these dates and stuff to like these nice restaurants and nice places and introduce me to all this stuff. And I was and she would then tell me about her ex-husband. Her ex-husband was like a very wealthy man, and he had all these things, but she told me she was very unhappy while she was married to him. He lacked in a lot of other areas, and she said she was very unhappy. And I was like, how could you be unhappy? He bought you what? He bought you a BMW for your birthday? And she was like, yeah, Damien. Anything I wanted, he got for me. But it's the things that I really needed that he couldn't give me. He couldn't give me the time because he didn't have any. He couldn't give me love because he didn't know how, because he never really knew what it was to love himself. He spent a lot of his life exhausting trying to get money to get the trophy wife, and he really didn't know a lot about love. And she said the things that generally are intriguing to a woman like myself, he couldn't really give me. He didn't ignite any passion in me. I didn't feel alive around him. And she would tell me, like, you make me feel so alive. And I was like, okay. She was like, even at such a low level of life, you are ecstatic and passionate about living it. And you like got this fire. And I was like, yeah, I got to. And she was like, I feel it. I feel it from you. And I was like, yeah. And it sent me on a journey even to digging into like the social attraction between man and woman and what that's all about. I learned a lot about women and the circuitry. And, you always get this thing where, people ask the question, they say, how can a woman be with like a man who's very wealthy but date like some drug dealer or somebody like that or some street rebel? And it's not necessarily the fact that the guy's a drug dealer. He could be doing something. He could be doing something else. But let's equate it to this. Let's say the guy in the corporation, up the corporate ladder, making CEO money. This guy appears to have everything. And I'm not saying like this is like this all around for people who are wealthy. There's plenty of happy, joyous, and prospering, and all these great things are wealthy people. So don't think this is a rich poor thing. Like, you can be rich and totally thriving internally and externally. But I'm just pointing this out to like give a perspective here. Now let's imagine a guy in corporate America, CEO, making a lot of money, very successful. And it comes a point in his career where he's confronted with a choice. And he's confronted with a choice to sell out his lovely wife or keep his job at the company. This guy's worked very hard to get his position. He's worked extremely hard to make it up the top of the ladder. His wife has come as a what do you call that? I guess as a fruit of his worldly success. In most cases, a man like this who's neglected the internal journey of wealth, he will sacrifice that woman, and she knows it too. So in her heart, she knows, and in her circuitry, she knows she can never really trust this man at the level that, say, some hoodlum she meets, who's probably never really had a lot, but what he has is principle. He's not going to sell out the people he love. He's not going to betray the ones that's been there for him and looked out for him. He's going to be a real alpha when it comes to the situation of making sure he protects the people that's in his circle and the people that stand by him. So the woman is instinctually wired for survival. So even though she's been taught to value on an economic level the guy with the most money, she is instinctually wired to go towards the guy where she feels the most safe with. So the street hoodlum, look, he's been in seasons of survival. That's what he knows how to do, survive. And anybody next to him, he gonna make sure they okay. And I mean, if that means death or jail, he cool with that. He's already been at the worst, had the worst of it, survived the worst of it. So he's not scared. He doesn't carry the same levels of fear as, say, the guy in the corporate job of losing his position and his image. The street guy is all about principle. So say the zombie pandemic hit. Who's gonna have more of a skill set to protect this woman and make sure she's safe? When a zombie pandemic hits and money is irrelevant and survival is prevalent, probably this street hoodlum is gonna have more of a skill set to make sure his woman is safe because he knows how to survive and he knows how to see value in people past image and money and all these other things. So instinctually, this woman is just wired to be with a man that preserves some level of ignition. The man that's gonna turn the key and get going. He don't have it all. He doesn't have it all worked out, but he's gonna make sure you're safe. He's safe, and everybody that he loves is okay, even if it's at the death of itself. So instinctually, a woman is looking for certain characteristics in a man. So she dates the hoodlum in the street doing his thing because, let's say the drug dealer, she dates him not because he deals drugs, it's because even in a world with so much social stigma and judgment, this dude is living his truth. Because at the level he knows, all he's been taught is the drug game. But he's got ambition to make it. He's got ambition to make sure he can take care of his people. So even at the reflection of going to jail and all of these systems, he's gonna do what he has to do to make sure he's okay and the people around him that he loves is okay. So on an instinctual level, this woman is attracted to that quality about this guy. Not that he's selling drugs, but that he's living his truth. I mean, that's his truth. That's something that he knows. That's his avenue of knowing how to make money. Until he learns how to have a better avenue, he lives within that truth. But this guy's living in his truth against all odds, and that's what's attractive. She can trust that this man is not gonna get tricked off by the people's perception. He's gonna ride it out and do what he has to do for the people that's riding with him, because he's not concerned with public perception or public opinion. He's concerned with making sure shit gets done, the people around him safe, and everybody got what they need. And he figured it out. I mean, he's a hustler. you know? So this just goes all the way back to the animal kingdom with with the alpha male lion who, he sits up, he watches all beta male lions laid up with their girls having sex, and these dudes are too lazy to go out and too scared to go out and get food for the community. So this alpha male, he ain't really concerned because he's concerned about sex, because he's concerned about the community. He goes out, hunts, risks dying just to get food to feed these beta male wives, lions, food, in which they these beta male husbands or won't even go do for their own wives. And then in turn, their wives start to look at the alpha and say, hey, I want him. And the betas can't understand it. They go in a frenzy and they jealous and they think this guy's trying to take their wives, and he's just doing his duty. And he's doing it because you won't do it for yourself, because you're too concerned about keeping your wife, controlling her, sexing her, and just keeping her for all these selfish reasons. You don't realize that it's almost causing an untrust in her, because you've made her the highest priority, where this alpha's made the community the highest priority. He sees the bigger picture. He sees that the community has to thrive. So even at the cost of his own personal pleasure, he's going to do what he needs to do to make sure the community thrives. Make sure you still getting sex from your so-called lion wife, and you're okay. But in turn, you become jealous of this alpha. And in the animal kingdom, there's no money. There's just character. There's just character. So these beta lions become jealous of the alpha. And they laid up with their women. And you're like, how could they be jealous of the alpha? Because the alpha carries something internally that these other beta males do not carry. And it's just as simple as that. So as much as our society has trained us to think economically that a man with more money is actually a more powerful and effective male, it's not so much true. Money can definitely help you maneuver in today's world a lot better, but it doesn't make you more powerful. So when it all boils down, there are certain key principles this world revolves around, and it's not something that, even with humans creating new systems, that ever can be neglected. I was listening to this guy, Tate. He was talking about all these crypto millionaires that's getting rich, and he was like, look, if I pull up at a light in my Lambo and one of these crypto nerds or something pulls up at the light with their Lambo, he said, this guy's still going to be a nerd in a Lambo, and I'm going to be a honcho in a Lambo. And it all boils back down to character. So, like, money can't create the man. The man has to be created from within. And I'll have more on this, but I guess that's all I got to say about this today.